We have a human race that has conceded its right to control its own perception. And because perception leads to behavior, giving up perception has led to behavior that has allowed a very few people to impose their will upon billions and turn this planet into basically a mind prison. And that's what everything has to be, really. If you want to control people, you have to create a mind prison because of everything that comes from that. I mean, everything we do, everything we don't do, everything we allow ourselves to acquiesce to, everything that we resist acquiescing to, these are all expressions of a person's perception. And the difference between those that have conceded their uniqueness, their right to freedom, they are people who have conceded their right to reach their own conclusions. Because the conclusion for those people comes not at the end of the process, it comes at the start. And the conclusion actually is not part of a process of reaching an opinion. It's all that exists in the process. And what I mean by that is authority says this is how things are, and someone who has given away their right to form their own perceptions then accepts what authority tells them is true and reacts, behaves on the basis of that. Whereas those who are awakening, and I never, unless I, slip my tongue, say awake, because we're all in a process of awakening. Those who are awakening, they have a process. They look at information from different sources, authority and other sources of information and evidence. And they process that information into their own unique conclusion. And when they do that, they come to very different conclusions to those that just concede their right to think. They are always the people that bring tyrannies down. Always. Because the asleep and the fearful are not going to bring tyrannies down. They may follow on after it's all in a momentum. But it's those that will not concede their right to their perceptions. For instance, these other groups will accept that 2 and 2 equals 5, A, because they do it without question and believe it without question, or because they fear not believing or living their life as if 2 and 2 equals 5. And this other group, the awakening group, says, actually, it equals 4. And I'm not conceding one smear of an inch beyond that. You can throw at me what you like. You can intimidate me or try to as much as you like. But I'm not going to concede my right to see that 2 and 2 equals 4. And I'm doing that because my self-respect will not allow it. My self-respect is not for sale. And so you can threaten me in any way you like, but you're never going to get my self-respect. And eventually it's the self-respect that says, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing the ridiculous things that you are telling me to do. And ridiculous people are telling me to do them. I'm not conceding my self-respect to that. Of course not. I'll die first. And so you have now, in this modern world, this very clear two divisions of two groups. One that allow tyranny, and without which tyranny couldn't have happened. No, we're not going to do what you tell us, and we're not going to concede our right to our own opinion. We're not going to give you our self-respect. And this group will eventually bring this tyranny down, because this group always does. The answer to evil is not more evil. What you fight, you become. It's love. And what we've done, and it's been systematically distorted on purpose, is lost the meaning of love. We now connect, in the human expression of it, love with attraction. Now, it can be, part of it can be attraction, it can be a physical attraction. But the love I'm talking about is well beyond that. Love is that which connects us to outside this madhouse, which I say is a simulation, actually, to that which drives the vast, overwhelming majority of infinite consciousness, infinite possibility, and that's love. And what's happened is that humans have been manipulated into a fake reality, a simulation, think Matrix, that has sought to disconnect us, to separate us from that enormity of love. And what is love? Love is all that is, has been, and ever can be. Love is all possibility. Love is all potential. Love is that which says, I will always do what I know to be right, and I will not think about consequences, because to think consequences will be to consider not doing what I know to be right. I'm doing what I know to be right because I'm coming from love. Love, through this heart vortex, is how we connect with the great beyond, outside of this mind prison, which is what it is. This simulation this matrix is a mind prison, a perception prison. And the whole idea is to stop us making that connection, to keep us separated. And in simple terms, or not even simple terms, very accurate terms, I would suggest, to hold our point of attention and our source of perception in the five senses and the immediate subconscious around the five senses. That's where they want to isolate us. Because what the idea is to isolate us in the five senses and then to program those senses with a version of reality. So that version of reality, version of perception, becomes one which allows the force of control to control to its heart's content. Because you can't see literally beyond the end of your nose when you're in that state. If you look at how the five senses decode reality, they can see only certain frequencies that we call form. We call solidity. They're not really, but they appear to the five senses. But in between the form, the five senses see empty space. They don't see anything else. So everything's apart from everything else to the five senses. It's the only way it can see the world. Whereas when you expand your awareness out of the five senses, you start to realize that everything's connected, that there is no empty space, that between, or that which the five senses perceives as empty space is actually consciousness, awareness, like one vast conscious Wi-Fi field connecting everything. And we are interacting with it. It's affecting us and we're affecting that, just like fish and sea life are swimming in an ocean. The ocean is that which connects everything. But they don't want us to realize that we're part of one massive, infinite whole, dominated by love beyond our understanding of what love is. They want us to think that we are simply irrelevant, powerless individuals, apart from every other individual, apart from every other expression of life, like the trees and the air and the natural world in general. So that we are operating as merely one isolated computer system, if you like. when we're actually all connected. So this separation is absolutely vital, and I've symbolized it as the computer being symbolic of the body mind, as I call it, the five sense level of perception, and the operator being symbolic of this greater consciousness that we're all part of and should be part of in full awareness. And when you've got the operator and the computer working in harmony, the computer operator's got the big picture, he's got the mouse, he's got the keyboard, and he's working with the computer. And you've got everything you need. You've got that which is directly experiencing the reality you want to experience, i.e. the five sense level of humans. But you've got the bigger picture. You've got the panorama that puts that into perspective, which is not ever in perspective if that is all you perceive. The awakening, as it's called, is what? It's the awakening from the five sense perceptual prison and expanding into a much greater swathe of consciousness from which you can glean the insight, the knowledge, the intuitive knowing that allows you to see from a greater perspective what the five sense world is and what it's actually experiencing. And you know, all around the world you see this recurring theme in different cultures, and it's described in different ways but exactly the same in theme, different names and different ways of describing it, but it's the same thing. And you can pick it up in ancient cultures, and you can pick it up in the different religions too. What is good and evil? It's polarity. It's the polarity that we see in our reality now. That level that we felt from was oneness, it was unity. And we fell into the knowledge of good and evil, the knowledge of polarity, which is what this world is. And what's being described is not the creation of the world, but the creation of the simulation, the matrix. And so when we hear lines like, and God said, let there be light, and there was light, I say what's being described is electromagnetic light, which is basically what this simulation is.